Hey guys, Carl here at Raptor Tactical to talk to you guys today about the MYFAK, the Modified Individual First Aid Kit. As you can see here, we have one mounted on the belt as well as the gore, the guts of the system here. Before I go into that, I'm going to talk about just a little bit about the system. Here it is actually mounted on one of our belts. As you can see, it has the MOLLE portion to weave it through on the back, as well as from the side here, you can actually run a belt through it if you're running a belt that doesn't have MOLLE, so it's available for different sorts of installation purposes. Also, you can see there's a scissor pouch right here in the top with actual retention for the scissors. You just flick this, it comes off. So bam, your scissors are there when you need them. A few other things about the belt, about the MYFAK, is as you can see, it's completely concealed. Right now it's empty. The guts are over there, but you see we got the tuck tabs. It's sealed in on both sides. Everything's good to go. This port's hanging out right now, but of course that will be in once it's all installed. And the way this thing works is it works kind of like a reserve parachute, the way that it's packed. Put it together, squish it all down, put a pin in it, slide it all in there. It's good to go. So that way when you pull it out, it's a rapid deployment system. You pull it out. Once it gets out and breaks that point, and it actually clears the pouch, it pops open. So it works great for one-handed operation. So you got this pouch portion here in one hand, and you have your other hand free to start grabbing the important stuff out of the inside of it. Back here under this, as you see, we got some Velcro attachments here, hook and loop. This is the pile portion on the actual pouch itself, as well as some laser cut indicators saying, you know, pull here, all that. As you can see, it's all our super nice, super thick, super durable material. And then we're going to go into talking about the meat and potatoes portion of it, the actual pouch innard system itself. Nice thing you can see ran all the way through here is there's holes where you can actually run shock cord. And you can actually mount that the way you want. So you can set this thing up for what you're actually running in your first aid kit. It doesn't come with some pre-assembled kit that you can only run this piece right here if you want it the other way. This gives you the complete interchangeability to run this and build this the way you want. The way it works and the way it comes, it'll come like this with none of the shock tube assembled. And you can actually place the shock tube where you want. Just a few key points on that. If you see right here, I got this nice smooth, everything is nice and smooth on the inside. When we tied it, we tie all the knots on the inside, wrap it around and wrap it through, so that way when you're pulling this thing out, you got a nice smooth and even deployment. As you can see off the sides here, on either side, these are the actual grab handles that you actually grab to pull it out once it's all assembled. As well as you see, it's got 4 main arms here, and we'll go over the assembly here shortly and talk about how to package this thing up. A couple features when you do have this thing packaged up. Something to help you when you actually package it up. We have tuck tabs built into the flap right here. So once you get it all together, put it in there, you can actually take and put it in, use you know, a cleaning rod, screwdriver you got laying around, and you can actually tuck it and get it all nice and packed well. That's important because, you know, just like if you're jumping out of an airplane, you want to have a well-packed chute. This is the same thing. When you need this thing, you want it to come out as smoothly and as good as possible. And the unfortunate side effect of that is when you actually put it together, you're going to have to do it with a little bit of care and precaution, kind of like your life is on the line, because if you're pulling this thing out, it very well could be. So we'll go over a few features about this before we actually go into the assembly and putting this whole thing together. So we have the string that's actually attached to the deployment, the pin that actually holds it together. One thing to talk about here is right behind this cross is where you want this string all nice and wound up. You don't want this wrapped around all around the pouch or anything like that. Just like a parachutist, you want to make sure this thing is packed well so it comes out nice, smooth, easy deployment, almost as if your life is on the line. So continue to talk about that. Like I said, you want to make sure all this string is here on top and it's all good to go. It attaches on the inside right here. And as you see, it's actually secured. You can actually remove it and replace it should something happen to it in the field. So here's, we have it all wound up. That's important to keep in mind before you put it in. I'm going to go over, actually, for this part, I'm going to talk through the actual assembly of the main medical portion itself. When I put this thing together, I like to have a small piece of string laying around. Oh, here it is, real small. So you can use a fishing line. 550 cord's a little thick. You can get it done with it. It's kind of a pain in the butt. But what's really nice, if you take the guts, the actual the inserts out of the white inserts out of the 550 cord, one of those works perfectly. Or for this particular video, I have this fishing line. So what you want to do is take just like the duffel bag, your basic training duffel bag that's got that big metal clasp that you run through the 4 rings, you overlap them, and then you clip your ring, or you put your lock across the top. This works in the exact same concept, except instead of running the lock, you're going to run this actual deployment pin. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and wrap my string through this gutted 550 portion here. Hold on to both ends of my string. Now my string is secured, and I have this. There's 2 preferred methods when doing this. Those of you who have packed a parachute before are going to be familiar with one of the methods. The one method is you can actually run all 4 through, pull it all as one unit, and then kind of get it in. I think that requires a lot more effort, so I'm going to do it the RA1 method and put it through one here. I'm going to start going straight to the opposite side. I'm going to pull tension, get as much of that 550 cord as I can, loop it over on its side, and just put my finger right there and hold tension on it. Bam. Now once my finger's actually there and it's held tension on it, I'm free to work with the string and do what I need to do. I'm going to pick left or right side. Either one's fine. And I'm going to run it through the same way. Bring it up. Make sure we didn't... Okay. There. And pull. Same way. Pull against it. Bam. Same thing with the string. And then we move on to the other side. Placing it through. Pulling it up. There we go. Bloop. I like to pull it, give it that last little bit of tug. So I got all the slack pulled up out of it, and here it is, all sealed up, ready to go. Our last step is going to be placing, I like to pull up on the string. That gives it a little more slack. And then stick the pin in. Once the pin's in and it's all good to go, and you're sure it's secure, you can take your string, pull your string out, good to go. Like I said, this involves a little more work on the front end, actually getting this thing packed up. But the benefits of that is it's less work on the back end. So when you're sitting around just trying to get your stuff all packed up, it does take a little bit of effort and a little bit of conscious thought to put this thing together. But when the shit hits the fan and you need this thing deployed and you pull it out, you don't have to deal with undoing Velcro, undoing zippers. I got to do this, do that. Once you pull this thing and that pin gets pulled out, bam, opens up and it's all good to go. So next thing we're going to get into here is actually placing the meat and potato portion, the business portion, into the protective pouch. Again, I talked about that string. I want to make sure that string's on the top when I'm messing with it. And I'm going to start to place it in. So one nice thing, the actual pull tab, you can actually push the pull tab through and help it pull on itself, give you a little bit of effort here. I'm going to try to keep this whole thing in the camera so you can see it all. So then I'm just walking it through. One thing to think about and to note is to try to keep the pin facing up and down. It will work no matter what direction it's at, but if it's up and down, if you're pulling it with your right hand and it's up and down, it's going to be less friction when it comes out and actually pulls the pin. If you pull it with your left hand, it's going to be the same way. So whereas if you had it ran left to right and you're pulling this way, now that pin's going to have to do a 180 as it rips out, which means it's still completely doable. It's just going to take a little more strength and force on your part. So if you keep it facing straight up and down, no matter which side you end up pulling it from, it'll come out nice and easy and good to go. Like I said before, I'm going to take this excess string, just kind of keep it all right here centered in the top. Push it down a little bit so it's not pulling against it when I push it in, and just kind of get it in there. And just like a parachute, make sure you get it in there all nice and smooth. The smoother the better. There we go. Make sure all that string stayed up where it needs to go. I got it about centered inside both sides. I got my pull tab centered here. Now we're going to go into the next part. This second flap here that just acts to kind of stop foreign debris, any other crazy objects getting in there, messing stuff up. So we have a screwdriver. You can use a clip for from your 5.56 rounds or a cleaning rod, whatever you need. You'll see we have these nice little tabs built in right here. So what you do, you kind of push this thing in, make sure a little bit of it's hanging out, and we'll go over that more in a second. And then you start to tuck the corners in. The important thing to note when tucking the corners in is the inside, the pouch that comes out. Where it folds up, you can actually shove these tabs inside and get it inside the pouch where the medical equipment is at. That's not what you want. You want it between the inner pouch and the outer sleeve. So just locate the outermost portion. I like to just kind of get it started, shove one side in there just a little bit. Same thing, I'm looking, making sure I'm putting it in the right area. Get it in, just get that little corner started. I'm going to use my little fancy screwdriver here. So I just push it in, a little bit of pressure here, a little bit of pressure here. Making sure that the handle ends up on the outside. So just to show you what's going on the inside on this side, what's happening is this piece in here is actually making like a 180-degree turn, and it creates a fold in there. And what I'm doing is this is getting tucked into that fold so you can still access the handle. That's important to note because you can't pull the handle if the handle's tucked around, stuck on the inside. So once you get all packed up and tight and good to go, it's going to look like that. As you can see, everything's nicely secured in there. You can pre-pull these handles here just a little bit if you want. You can run them out a little further. You can run them in a little further. The important thing is just make sure that no matter how far in you run them, it's where you can actually get your finger in there, grab it, and be able to pull it out. So here I'm going to move on to the next side. Again, same thing. I'm going to preset them, get them in there. Get them in there a little bit. This one I can get done just using my finger. I don't even need a tool on this side, which I probably could have done it on the other side too. But one thing to note is right here, I just did what I said not to do. If it happens, you see right there, I actually shoved this whole thing in there. I didn't actually pull it out when I was putting it in. If it happens, it's fine. You just reach in there, pull it out just a little bit. Get it all set in, good to go. And bam, now we have it right there, all packed and ready for deployment. Again, watch the next part of the video and it'll show the actual deployment, and we'll show you guys in actual operation how this thing's gonna work. Here it is, the MYFAK, all assembled, ready to go. As you can see, it's mounted on the belt. I'm gonna go over some of the parts about actually pulling the belt, show you how everything works. So to get this started, again, you can pull it from either side, pull it from this way or pull from that way. So you get it, pull it out. Once it pulls out, you see we have the pin that we spoke about earlier here on the retention band. The pin actually stays attached to the main compartment of the pouch. And then once you get it pulled out past that certain point, let's see if I can do it where it shows it the best. Once you get it out past that certain point, the friction pulls the pin and the pouch opens up. Once the pouch opens up, the nice thing about this is when you're pulling it out and you're actually bringing it out, it'll break once it gets to about right here. Once it breaks open, everything's already ready and you have your free hand to start grabbing the tools and equipment you need out of it. You don't have to bother unzipping something or velcroing something and doing all this nonsense. You pull it out and bam, it's already ready to go. As you can see, looking inside of here, this was fully packed, everything all set up and ready to go. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Visit us at raptortactical.com. Check out the MYFAK and our other offerings.